My friends, I'm dedicating this video to Louis Marco, and I never knew he existed, but I have a good friend, Joe Nemick, that he seems to know everybody on YouTube, and he tells me about some of the crazy statements a lot of these guys make, and if I decide to, answer, I do, and sometimes I say, forget about it. But he told me about Louis, and he says that he agreed with my assessment of the steroids, and he posted my video on his site, which I appreciate very much. And it's really a pleasure to see a man like you and see a person that's what I'm doing. I want to cut down the bullshit in the game and the strutting and inform. See now, what you said about a teenager, see, Louis, see, that's why I feel so actually in a way cocky, because I grew up, I started at 10, when I was 10, Louis. It was 70 years ago. I went through all the steps of being in bodybuilding, under the hunger and the arrogance and the omnipotent feeling you had when you were young. You do anything. I remember when before I got hurt and I was in my late teens or very early 20s, I thought I could do anything. And when you said that telling kids not to take steroids will be nothing because they wouldn't care if they died 10 years later if they could build a body. But you see, Louis, that's a misnomer because most of those guys won't build a body. They have the illusion. See, that's why you have to educate. Some guys, Louis, will do nothing you could tell them. If you tell them, don't do it, it'll kill you tomorrow, they do it anyhow. So you can't get to those people. But you can't give up on these guys. You give them the information and let even the young bash teenager, you ask him, what do you want to do and what do you think steroids going to do? They have the illusion. That's what fascinates me. And all they got to do is take steroids. It's like steroid craze. They see everything as steroids. I get emails when they insist that I use steroids. You know, I tell you, if they were available, I'd have used them. They weren't available. That's all. And of course, when they became available, I couldn't compete anymore. So I wasn't, it didn't make sense for me to take them. And you know, my arms got to 21 after I hurt my leg, not before. Because it was like focusing, changing my focus. I just said, I'm not looking to build the biggest arms. That never crossed my mind. I just wanted to build big arms. And they really were huge, and I didn't even realize it. I knew they were big, but I didn't realize they were as big as they were. And if you look at a body, Louis, you look at a body, they can't lie to you. You could tell a steroid body. They got all that deep definition was unheard of in my time. The vascularity and the big swollen look of the body. Usually none of them can have a vacuum. You don't see these steroid boys with a vacuum because they can't get it because the steroids develop all the muscles, also of your abdominals, and they get hypotrophy in it. Now, what I admire about you is that you understand, and a lot of people may think I have a crusade. I don't have a crusade. I mean, I know what this is. I know what desire these kids, the younger boys, have. But they all don't have that because I get all kinds of emails from these kids telling me what can they do. They don't want to take the steroids. But they think it's some magic, and it isn't. You still have to break your balls, and that's what's so discouraging. With these kids, they think all I got to do is take steroids. No. And then when you tell them, what's the end result? What do you want to do? All of a sudden, what do you want to do? Do you want to enter a contest, or you just want to walk around with a bicep a little bigger than it would normally be? What do you want out of taking a drug that will kill you? Not maybe, it will. Not overnight, but it will. Because I'm telling you, the reason I feel the way I feel, I'm really sad. All my friends, the guys that came up after me, guys that I enjoyed being with, guys that thought the life was like just beautiful. They're all in it. They're all meant to make it. They're going to finish. And they all go for the same reason. The heart goes on. The liver, the kidneys, the joints, it just come apart. It was not designed to be used the way bodybuilders use it. Of all the sports, bodybuilders abuse it the most. And bodybuilding is not you couldn't call that a sport, really. It's not competitive, so, but that's not the point. Bodybuilding is a vanity contest. How good can I look? And what's the price you're going to pay for it? Now, I'll tell you something. After which amuses me, I get amused because I'm old and I went through it all. I can tell you the psychological steps that happens from 10 to 80. The guy that starts training at 20 don't know what it feels like to train at 15 because they haven't experienced. The guy that trained at 25 do not know what it's like what it was like when he was 20. The guy that starts at 40 don't know what it's like before he was 40. No, the guy that started at 40 don't know what it's like to be after 40 because he haven't lived it. I lived it. And I respect your sight, and the thing that fascinates me, I would have never heard of it. It wasn't for my friend Joe Neiman. He said, "You hear about this Louis Marco?" I said, "No." He said, "Well, he did a complimentary video about it. He talked about it." And I was surprised. I looked at it and I was quite pleased. I'm not, and I was pleased because I see the rationale you present. But Louis, you can't tell a kid, you can't say, "I'm not going to tell you about steroids because you'll use it anyhow." No. Let them know the price you got to pay and then say what for. I understand the ball players using it, football players using it. These guys make money. Some of these guys make millions of dollars. But you don't see all that big muscle on them because they use just enough to improve their performance. Bodybuilders abuse it. And it hurts me. And the reason it hurts me, hey, I can't change the world. I'm just I'm retired. I've been retired years. After I hurt my leg, the competition was over for me. But I just want to inform these boys, you can build, and another thing, because I get all excited, I'm not too old to get excited. I'm really excited because this is my life. You see, I was when I'm 10 years old, I started this. That's my life. It's a part of me. And I feel for all the younger fellas because I know what I went through when I was younger, hungering for something to make me strong and bigger. And I tell you, the best thing happened to me was that when I got my ankle severed in my late teens, I think my late teens, very early 20s, because I would have been dead today not talking to you because I was obsessed with bodybuilding. But the drugs were not as potent as they are now. It started off with Diana ball. And I said to myself, I've been training a lot. These guys, I remember this kid, Freddie Ortiz, with these big arms, bigger than his head. I remember Larry Scott. I said, wait a minute. These guys are doing more than training. I've been training too long. I know what can come out of training. It's something they're doing. Then I heard about this drug. They were like whispering about it. Underground, Diana ball. That was the first one. And my good friend Sam Sansone died at 35. And he was the first guy that they suspected steroids killed. because they said he had a small tumor in his kidney that flourished from the steroids, and it killed him. On my website, leroycoba.com, there's a picture of him holding my legs down as I'm doing the alternate curl with 95-pound dumbbells. And you have to hold because, you could fall over. It was just too heavy. That's how strong I was. And that's how I was working on my biceps. That was after my accident, incidentally. But the point is, that broke my heart because Tom used to say, oh man, I don't do that much training. Now, he didn't get into it like they do now, but he was taking the drugs, the Diana ball, and it triggered the tumor in his kidneys, and he died. And we were very sad about that. But then these guys really started keeling over. You don't hear about it. You just don't participate, don't hear. They don't advertise it. And except for the natural contest, what they half-ass test for, they don't test for steroids in bodybuilding. If they did, boy, you see a lot less of those freaky bodies. But I appreciate very much, and I want to let you know that I'm glad that I got somebody else in my corner as far as talking about think. I know it's difficult for kids to think or young fellas to think, but we didn't have anybody telling us what or what not to do because we were in the primitive part of bodybuilding where they looked down at us like we were freaks or, idiots. But just tell the guy, you want to use steroids? Because they're not thinking, what for? What do you want on them? And they think it's magical, but it isn't. And if you don't use it right, get the right amount of protein, it could be even more negative because it becomes catabolic. Steroids demand a lot of protein. And a lot of times these guys take it and don't take enough protein, and they don't get the results out of it that they think they should because it becomes catabolic. It begins to eat your own muscle. It's a protein eater. That's why these guys eat every 2 hours, a lot of them, to maintain the hunger for protein that steroids demand. In any case, I really appreciate what you did on the video, and I want you to know that's my take, and that's why I come across the way I do. It's sad. You see, you 90% of you guys, I know you're much younger than me. You haven't seen other friends, Serge Newbray, Sergio Oliva, all these guys, Red Park. It's so many of them. This went underway before their time, and not a one of them have come near my age. It's sad to me. It's a downer because I knew these guys, enjoyed being with them, but they paid a hell of a price for big muscles. Now, my normal sign-off, and I'm going to compete it, is to be continued. And I'm going to watch your videos now that I know you exist. And I'm very happy about you and your approach to bodybuilding. And I have to take my hat off to Joe Neiman because I'd have never known otherwise. There's just too many guys out there talking about how to build their bodies, and I just don't have time to be looking them up. So only thing I respond to is I get emails saying, this guy said that. And then I say, oh shit, then I will respond to something I know is outrageous. A lot of guys get on these videos and they don't have an idea what they're talking about because they know anybody listening to them don't know either. So they say anything. In any case, to be continued.